Welcome to the Memecoin podcast. It's your host, Henok. I've got an incredible guest today. As you guys know, we cover the greats inside of the meme ecosystem. People who have made it big, experienced life-changing gains in crypto, people who have suffered tremendous loss as well, people who've learned a lot that we can glean from. And so I'm excited to present to you the Memecoin pod. And by the way, this is in partnership with Gokhshtein Media. Shout out to my boy David Gokhshtein. And also, this particular episode is sponsored by my favorite meme coin, Brett. Okay, hold on. To be honest with you, I don't have an official partnership with Brett. I'm just a bag holder, and I love my meme Brett. But shout out to the Brett community. Listen, we've got my brother, my good friend, your pop in the house. This guy, I call him the face of Shiba Inu, the YouTube face of Shiba Inu. He's actually the reason why I got into crypto. I'm excited to present to you my brother, one of my best friends in the entire world, Your Pop. Yo, Your Pop, what's going on?
Ooh-wee. Henok's got that Henok energy as if we're in the biggest bull market right now. Even though we're not, things are pulling back a little bit, but I'm excited to be here. I appreciate you bringing me on the Memecoin pod. It's an exciting time for meme coins. As the President of the United States recently, just a few weeks back, launched his own meme coin, and we're seeing basically everyone and their mothers launching meme coins. So I'm excited to have this conversation, this dialogue about meme coins and their place in our hearts and communities and where it goes in our financial sector and system. So
no, I love it. It's amazing how many people, when we talk about crypto in real life, want to talk to me about memes. And memes are really hot right now, but people just don't know much about them, where to begin. So I had to bring you on. I'm excited to have you on. You're a huge part of why I got into the meme space as well. I was looking up videos on YouTube about Shiba Inu about 4 years ago, and I ran across your content. So, man, tell me, how did you get into meme coins? What brought you into this crazy world?
For sure. No, I again, Henok, thank you so much for the introduction. I will say for me, it started off as kind of general stock market. So graduated pharmacy school and started trying to find out how can I supplement my income in a way that doesn't take too much time, but also gets me enough involvement in something that is interesting to me. So got into the stock market, started looking into stocks back in 2020, right when the pandemic crash happened and everything started correcting at rates that nobody has seen before, other than the 2008 financial crisis. So for me, it was just kind of like an instant, hey, jump into this and see what happens. And the first thing I looked at is, why are airline stocks all dropping by 50% from their current valuations in literally a 24-hour period? So what did I do? I bought American Airlines, Delta Airlines, Canada Airways, every stock we can think of that had the airline word in it. And within a week, everything rebounded. And I was like, oh my God, I just made a lot of money. For me, it was a few $100s at that time, but I was like, whoa, this is some gains. And there's gains to be made in this market. So started doing a little bit of research, started watching my own content on YouTube, started watching people like Chris Sane. I would consider him kind of like the millennial creator of our time. Chris Sane is an absolute legend on the YouTube space. He's been consistent for the last almost 4 years now and been consuming his content. And I've learned a lot from the guy. And so for me, I was like, well, YouTube is very educational. Forget technical analysis, forget technical trading. I just want to learn what this stuff is about. So I started consuming content. And then probably 6 months after doing so, I was like, wait a second. Why don't I just create my own YouTube channel and start covering all the stocks that I like talking about, whether it's Tesla or all these things. And that was kind of my initial introduction into YouTube and into just the financial system and understanding stocks, equities, things of that nature. And fast forward, probably I started December 2020. A few months later, meme mania happened in the stock market. It was GME and AMC. And that's what I was covering on my channel. And it was insane. I would do live streams, thousands of people watching concurrently. And I was just like, dude, this is crazy. Is this what it feels like to have like fame and a community? So that euphoria definitely hit. And then the halting happened. Citadel and Robinhood halted trading. And that was where I was trading all my stocks at the time. And I was like, hold on a second. They can just hit the pause button whenever they want and stop us in our tracks? I was like, that's not really fair. So I think a lot of people at that time were just like, starting to get a little skeptical, looking into Reddit, trying to read into forums. StockTwits was huge at that time. And I made my transition out of the stock market after finding out about crypto blockchain. Because when I found out there's no such thing as hitting the pause button on the blockchain, I was like, okay, this is interesting. And at that time, we had meme coin mania beginning with Dogecoin and the Elon reign, Shiba Inu launching a few months prior, and then we also had SafeMoon. If you guys remember that one. So that was my intro, and quickly kind of flipped into that. So we're here today.
It's crazy. You've been around, you're an OG, you've been around for years as the space has continued to explode. You've been in probably thousands of meme coins, in your time. Yeah, probably. But what are some of the biggest meme coins? What are some of the biggest gains you've ever made? What are some that come to mind? Like, what are some of the X's? People just have no clue. And I love for people to hear about real gains and real opportunities that they've experienced in their career.
Yeah, I would say the biggest gains, I won't even say biggest gains, the most like enjoyable gains that I've ever made was definitely, and hands down, has to be Shiba Inu coin. So Shiba Inu, the fact that, again, covering it from wherever it was at the beginning, let's just call it a $4 billion valuation, $3 billion, maybe a little less, and watching it rise all the way up to 40 plus billion, and being someone that was associated with the brand, associated with the coin, to me that meant a lot. It was massive, and just watching it go up, especially that SHIBtober, as we called it, in October of 2021, putting on a live stream, having nearly 10,000 people watching concurrently, just looking at the chart as we were all in disbelief, like this actually just happened. We have billions of dollars of money coming into this community-driven cryptocurrency that otherwise people would call a scam. They were calling it fraud. They were calling all the founders and the creators and the content creators of the coin just all these different names. And I just remember getting phone calls from friends, family members. They're like, "This is the coin you've been talking." Even my parents, "Hey, this is the coin you've been talking about for all these months." And I was like, it just took conviction. It took being a part of a community and just watching that, even though it was for meme coins not that much of a multiplier, maybe 1,000, 2,000% gains. It was just cool to see it live and being a part of it from the beginning, and then watching it mature into a top 10 cryptocurrency. Man, it was really cool.
Yeah, that was one of the craziest, run-ups that any of us had ever seen. It was my gateway drug into the meme coin universe, but a 10x is nothing to sneeze at. But I know you've seen some insane gains. We've been a part of projects over the years that have seen some insane. What are some numbers, some X's that come to mind on projects over the years that you've personally witnessed or experienced?
Hinak, I would say, I think probably from a multiplier standpoint, I would say XRP with Young Potter and Pack. Watching that thing, I think Hinak was the first person that got us exposure to that coin. It was sub $100,000, $200,000 market cap, and watch that thing go up 10x to 1 to 2 million, 10x again, 10 to 20 million, and then 10x yet again. So that's not a 10x or 100x, that's a 1,000x multiplier. Watching that go from a sub 1 million all the way up to above $130 million market cap. But from seeing something go from the millions to billions, it would have to be Brett on base. That was cool watching it go from 30 all the way up to a $2.4 billion market cap. I don't even know if we could say that 2 or 3 times. It's crazy. Nuts.
That Brett run-up is special. And obviously at the time of the recording of this podcast, Q1 of 2025, I have the highest expectations for what memes are going to do in the time to come. But that's what makes memes so incredible. These X's, these gains, the explosive growth, being able to turn a little sum of money into something, better or different in a shorter window of time. So I want to ask, what is it about meme coins that gets you excited? What is it about memes that drew you in, that keep you in? You're still in the space.
Yeah, I think the number one thing, going back to, again, having first exposure to stocks and then going into cryptocurrency and meme coins, is to me, it was the bottom of the barrel. You're talking about the most degen, lowest level, from the perspective of someone that was only in the stock market or just getting into crypto. It was the lowest of the lows in terms of entries. So you're getting in at some of these minute 10K, 50K, 100K, 500K, $1 million market cap tokens or coins that have the potential to 10, 100, 1000x. So I think the upside in meme coins is what makes them so special. And of course, from the different perspectives of people, those that are in the trenches, as we call it, or basically the gamblers, or those of us that like to do research first before even buying into a meme coin, whatever that means in the meme space, do your own research. But real talk, I think, is just the multiplier factor and then the community factor. Like, you have people that will support you day in and day out, regardless of time of day, time of night. You put on a Twitter space or X space, I guess we call it now, or if you put on a YouTube live stream or start posting, you're gonna have people rating you left and right, and that support, it's contagious. You feel like you do kind of, it's kind of schizophrenic in nature. You're here with your family, like I'm married, I have a child, but at the same time, there's this whole nother world. We call it the cryptoverse. We go into it, and you're locked in, and you're just in a whole different ballgame, different way of life, different way of speech, everything. So I think just all these things combined is what makes them so enticing, and people caught on. Again, Henok, I will remember this, and I'll never forget it. In 2023, November, we were all in California visiting one of our friends, Stecky Stex, down in LA, and Henok was sitting down on the table telling us, you guys, in this coming cycle, this coming bull run, we will see institutional investors buy into meme coins. And what are we seeing right now? We're seeing Bitwise applying for a Dogecoin ETF, exchange traded fund. This was not on the table, but this guy right here, that's the creator of this podcast, he spotted it years prior to this stuff happening. So it's coming to fruition right now. And I think, again, the floodgates are about to open, and it's going to be enticing. And one other thing that I really like about meme coins that I didn't say during that little spiel is a meme coin can die. So it can go from billions, and I'll use SHIB, for example, getting listed on Binance, going to like a $12 billion market cap, and then get suppressed all the way down to sub 1 billion. And then after consolidating for 9 months, and it seems like it's gone forever, it just gets this random awakening, and it rises and it rushes all the way back to all-time highs and beyond that. So that's why they say, always leave a moon bag and never get rid of your dust.
It's real. It's real. Meme coins are strange. They are bizarre. They're relatively complex, right? You know, you got to spend time in the space to get some semblance of an understanding of them. But you know, if someone maybe is new to meme coins, you know, or just getting involved, or they're moderately involved, you know, I'm sure they would want to ask you, like, you know, how do you find these memes? What tools do you use? What websites do you visit? What apps, you know, are meme coiners on? Like, what are some tools that come to mind for you?
I would say the number one tool is being part of the crypto Twitter or crypto X algorithm. Exposure to that on your timeline over time will get you exposure to very good projects early on, regardless. And there's big names out there that you can start following and start to watch. They will show you things like technical analysis from the macro market standpoint. And I'm talking the big dogs, BTC, ETH, Solana, you name it, XRP. And then you'll have the other side, the trench warriors, who are posting really good narratives for meme coins. And then again, you still will get pretty early entry on there. So from a trading standpoint, Telegram bots they've been my favorite best friends since 2023, utilizing Maestro or BonkBot, and now even Photon. Just makes the user experience overall, instead of having to worry about manual slippage entries and worrying about doing all this and fiddling with that, it just very basic. A sixth grader could probably trade, and they have traded meme coins at this point. So I would recommend any of those Telegram bots or things like Photon, or I think there's BullX as well, that are all really, really good, and they have great user interfaces and user experiences.
And dude, you've been a part of a lot of memes. You know, not everything has succeeded. Obviously, no one is 100 for 100, but you've definitely been a part of a disproportionate number of successful memes and catching them very, very early. I mean, I could go down a list in my head that I've seen you connected with since 2021 when I first discovered your platform, and even till now. Right? I mean, Pepe, dude, you were like literally a day 3. You were creating content about Pepe. I mean, I got in day 4 because I watched your video on day 3. So, man, how do you find, like, what is it about a meme that screams to you? What are some indicators, some tools, or some things that you're looking at that let you know, hey, this one might do well or has a chance?
Absolutely. I think it's getting more and more difficult each and every day because our entire space, and when I say space, I mean meme coin space, has become very diluted. If you just rewind 3 years ago, 2021, it's the summer, you would have one or two meme coins, maybe three, that make a name for themselves. Right now, there's hundreds that are listed on major exchanges that have significant trade volume. That is just, they have people's attention. So it's become more and more difficult. But I will say, the number one thing for me is exposure. So I have a pinned tweet on my Twitter timeline, and I've had it there since July of 2023. And just verbatim reading it here, I wrote, if 10 to 20% of meme coins you are buying are home runs, anywhere between 10 to 100x gains, then you're doing something right. So if you fall 8 or 9 times out of 10, that's okay, as long as you are picking winners amongst every 10 or so. You're probably doing something right in terms of the way you're researching, the way you're trading. So a lot will fail, and a few will potentially change everything. What I've noticed recently is I have been on a losing streak. And the reason being is, again, it's just the dilution. There's so many. The N value has become substantially more than it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or even 4 years ago. So with that being said, I think it's going to become more and more difficult to sift through the noise. And come this specific bull run in 2025, going into 2026, a lot of people are going to probably lose more money than they will gain. But if you try to, again, look at things in terms of the metrics that are the for sure's, or the ones that have been winners in the past. So for example, 24-hour trade volume, when something just launches, that's a big one. I think a lot of people overlook trade volume, but I want to filter one thing though there. You got to stay away from the Solana volume, because market makers, artificial volume bots on Sol are substantial. But if you look at Base or ETH or other chains, you can't really artificially inflate volume because of the fact that gas fees are so much higher. Maybe not on Base or layer 2, but something like Ethereum, that's the best way to do it. You're not going to have market makers that are going to be paying $30, $40 transactions to just inflate volume on certain coins. So I keep emphasizing volume because I think that is one that is very, very big. And then you can look at, for example, I talked about Photon, and one of the things I personally use, they have built-in filters for you to start basically sifting through the noise. We keep going back to that term because it's super important. You can look at the top 10 holders. You can look at to see if the liquidity pool is burned. Does it have any mint authorization or freeze authorization? All these different things to just ensure the more filters you put on, the less likely you will get scammed, or you're going to get rugged via just a malicious dev that's looking for a quick buck, maybe in and out, couple $100,000 market cap, and peace. So again, these are things that you learn over time. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to fall victim to rugs and scams, including myself. In the last 48 hours, I've probably bought 1 or 2 rugs. But you got to make sure you're looking at your risk appetite and don't overindulge in meme coins. It should not be 100% of your portfolio. Henok will say otherwise. But again, it's not for the faint-hearted, because they will drop. They will run up like you've never seen before. You'll be euphoric. You know the market cycle. You guys have heard of the market psychology, the Wall Street cheat sheet. I don't know if an editor can put it on screen, but regardless, the fact is, market psychology tells you that every single token and every single stock that is ever created will go through a full market cycle and go through another and another, unless the project is abandoned. So as long as there's a community around it, and it seems like, oh my God, it's going up infinitely, I have to buy now, that's the worst time you're probably buying. When you're buying and FOMOing on a green candle, you're probably doing something wrong. Instead, if the thesis doesn't change when it's getting plummeted and getting destroyed, for example, the best one I can think of right now is Brett on Base. If the thesis doesn't change, then you buy when it's down and hopefully ride it on the way back up to a new all-time high. And that's really the best way to start profiting. Don't copy trade. Don't follow direct calls that people make. Instead, I think, look for dips and look for buying opportunities instead of just FOMOing in.
Absolutely. A lot of people are new to memes. What are some mistakes? What are mistakes maybe that you made early on, or continue to make, or mistakes you see others making that we can learn from?
I think it's not taking profits. That is the ultimate mistake that everyone will make. Everyone watching right now, unfortunately, or listening in, you're going to make the mistake of not taking profits, not taking enough profits. You're not going to click the sell button, because the reality of memes and the reality of these cult-like communities is you will feel bad to take profits. Trust me, even for me. Like for Shiba Inu on that run up in October, I didn't take a single dollar out of my positions. And I was like, I made tens of thousands of dollars. And for me, again, at that time was insane. And I was like, I can't click the sell button, because you feel like you're part of a family. Like, just like your parents, you won't just take money from their purses. I mean, maybe I did when I was a child from my mom when I wanted ice cream. But regardless, like, that's just not something you do. You don't take money from your family members. And that's kind of what it feels like with meme coins, because it's all this LP, this liquidity pool, and it sits there, and you can take out from it whenever you feel the need to. But again, the closer and more attached you get into these cult-like communities, the harder it's going to be to sell. So I don't know. If I can leave one piece of advice for anybody watching, whether you're a beginner or an expert trader or beginner or expert in memes, you need to make sure you create a strategy and set sell orders, limits to where you need to start taking profits. You don't have to wreck the chart and sell your entire position if you're a big holder, but you can start peeling out of that pool, as I mentioned, taking money out of it to pay yourself for the amount of efforts you're putting in, whether you're a content creator, whether you're a Telegram goblin or a person that's just spamming on TG. Everyone plays a part. Whether I think Henok's saying is everyone brings something to the barbecue. So these sayings really, like, over time have resonated with me and have taught me to understand and create a profit-taking strategy. Even though it's still just as difficult as it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I'm still trying to do a better job of taking profits, even though I'm still pretty bad at it, believe it or not.
No, I get it. But sometimes that's what makes the best meme traders are those that have that conviction. We call it diamond hands in our culture, that can hang on through turbulence to realize those massive gains later on the right coin, though, albeit on the right project, which is like 0.001% of the time. Your pop, I got to ask, at the time of the recording of this episode, it's February 2025. Where do you think we go from here? Memes have been slaughtered. At the beginning of 2025, we thought the Trump pump would put us over the top, but memes have been suffering and struggling. But what are your thoughts on the future of memes? Maybe this year, the year, and then if you really want to go further, like years to come.
So the one thing you always got to make sure you keep in mind with meme coins is they will outperform the blockchains that they're launched on, as long as they have community and something they follow, right? As long as they're following trends. But they'll also take hits way harder than said coins. So, for example, we're going to keep going to Brett because, again, that's one of our conviction plays that Henok and I both hold. And I think you got to realize Brett will go down, and it did go down by substantial percentages, but it will also go up when Ethereum, the chain that it was launched on, goes up. But again, if ETH drops 10%, Brett might drop 20, 30, 40, 50%. And that's how the meme coin space kind of runs. So with that being said, that's one thing you gotta always keep in mind is the downside is very high, but the upside is typically much higher. So right now, where we're at in terms of macroeconomics, it's crazy to me that macro affects crypto so much, even though it's supposed to be like this, its own entity, but it really does. It runs alongside of the overall, the other markets that we have, whether it's real estate, stocks, anything else, even not necessarily bonds, but regardless, right now we have big things that we're looking forward to, right? So forward thinking from February 2025, we got to see what the Federal Reserve is going to do in terms of the way they're going to cut rates. So in 2021, if you guys recall, that bull market that started in 2020, the Feds were extremely, extremely generous with the way they just put rates at zero. That's what they did. And so that's when the market flipped completely and people went on buying sprees. People become very risk on and have risk appetite like no other markets when the Feds are lowering rates and consistently cutting. Going out from 2024 into 2025, our expectation was significant rate cuts moving forward. Now, coupled with the Donald Trump presidency, who's very pro-crypto, we know he's been pushing on those executive orders, which might take another 90 to 120, maybe 150 days before they're implemented. But when you have the US saying, we're going to start buying BTC on a weekly basis, X amount of Bitcoin, you have institutional investors buying up Bitcoin and Ethereum, and so is Trump and his family. So you have all the signals, India, China allowing self-custody for crypto for the first time in history. You have a global, I don't even know what to call it, re-globalization, if that's even a word, of the crypto industry. People are starting to look at it as, from a holistic standpoint, this is here to stay. And I think it makes sense because you got to hedge against the fall of your currency. Every 150 years, I forget where it is that I watched this on YouTube, every 150 years or so, you have a downfall of an empire. Right now, if you look at the US, we're kind of approaching the 150-year mark. So with that being said, the US dollar technically should potentially start to fall. And once that happens, they have to have a hedge if they want to ensure their safety and longevity as a nation. When I say they, that's we, because we're both Americans. So with that being said, people will use crypto, and I think having a strategic reserve is sensible long term, because that's the only asset class that's out there that has nothing to do with governments. So what do you do as a government? You try to buy up some supply, try to save yourself. Just like gold, historically speaking, just like silver, whatever, commodities that there are. I think, again, with the direction that we're going, if the Feds create a pivot, and based off the way that the markets kind of reacted the last little while, we had the biggest flash crash in the month of February ever seen, more than COVID previously, which was the pandemic crash, and even FTX and Terra Luna crash. Like when I saw those kind of statistics, that's scary stuff. I remember just looking at the chart like, is this real life? So with that being said, I think based off all these things that have been happening, it's the final shakeout. Really, it's going to be, maybe it continues for another few weeks going into the month of March. But if we have that pivot, strategic Bitcoin reserve, I say BTC goes all the way to $200,000, $300,000 this year. ETH finally wakes up, goes to 7, 8K, and the rest of the cryptocurrency market begins to take off. And then meme coins will outperform the Bitcoin and Ethereum pairs that are out there. So I'm extremely bullish in terms of 2025's outlook. But remember, not every coin is going to rebound with the market. Those that are true losers are going to end up just staying down there and just get stuck. And those are the ones that you got to start looking at as, hey, the market's rebounding, but these coins aren't. That's a sign or a signal that I got to say peace out.
You know, speaking of winners, coins that could win, let's talk about hashtag Trump. Whoa, dude, you were one of the first content creators on YouTube to even present Trump to the world. Can you tell us your Trump meme coin story, how you heard about it? I remember getting the text messages from you, late at night, the frantic. Just tell us that whole story if you don't mind.
Yeah. Henok and Stecky, guys. Those are the two guys that it's just, we've created like basically a family up to this point. Always talking about crypto. Every time the market moves or shakes, we talk about it. So yeah, I was on Twitter, as I always am. And I have my notifications turned on for Donald Trump. And I see a post saying, Trump coin, live, have fun, fight. This is all about fighting. And then at first, my intuition was, nah, it's a scam. There's no way the President of the United States of America, POTUS, decides to launch a meme coin a few days before his inauguration. Impossible. Yes, he's pro-crypto, but it's impossible. And then I started seeing the volume that I was picking up on the coin. 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. And I was like, hold on, this thing's at $1. That means it's at $1 billion valuation. Hold on, it's at $2. It's at $3, $4 billion. And I was messaging every time I saw it go up by $1 billion. Henok, it's Stecky. Guys, wake up. Phone call. Yo, this is real. So I think around $6.90, I established my first position. And it kept going up. $7. I bought more. $8, $9, $10, $20, $30, $50, $70. And it was just like, it looked fake. It looked like a literal honeypot. And the volume that it was drawing, more than Solana, more than every other meme coin, and it flipped every other meme within the first 48 hours of its launch. We ran a space, Henok and I, day 2, talking about all the different catalysts, Binance listing, Coinbase listing, boom. I think within an hour after that space, both of those exchanges announced their listing, and then Robinhood followed in suit. So what typically we see for a meme coins cycle that takes anywhere between 9 to 15 months on average, took Trump coin 48 hours to achieve. So with that being said, because that cycle was squeezed into a 48-hour period, of course we saw one of the biggest collapses or corrections as profit takers came in aggressively and people started shorting the coin as well. That's the one thing I do not like about cryptocurrency, is the fact that there's futures trading involved in our precious market. I really wish that they kept that to stocks and they left futures out of crypto, because when people see things and they think it's too high, they start to short it. And short interest goes up, people start to panic, they might sell for a loss, and people start to just take profits on the way down. And so, yeah, man, it was It was euphoric, and I'm still holding. I'm holding a pretty dang good position. I'm still up almost 2x. I think from my final position, I took a lot of profits as soon as I saw Binance listing. Those are my signals now, right? I've learned what are the signals to take profits, and I have no regrets. Even though I did sell prematurely at $40, $45 and it ran to 75, can't complain about gains. Can't say no. So yeah, I think that in and of itself gives that validity, right? Validation that we as meme coin folks have been looking for by the President of the United States of America. I love that I can say that, even though it's Trump. The President of the United States of America launched his own meme coin. So when is Henok launching his?
Never, 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 never. No, it's crazy. Like that weekend was nuts. The Trump launch is absolutely insane. But I agree with you, man. Like it's total validation
I bet
on what
Melania.
I could. Oh, Melania. Oh, we haven't even talked about Melania. What are your thoughts about Melania?
That was a trigger point, bro. Everyone, like, the meme now is she literally tanked the market. That was probably the worst play in playbook history. Maybe the Luka trade to the LA Lakers. That was probably the worst thing of all time. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Tom.
Can we talk about Luka Doncic going to the Los Angeles Lakers? As a Dallas native, as a Dallas fan, I'm hurting your pop. It's worse than watching a chart go 3000x and watching your investment go down to zero. It hurts more now in Dallas than even in that moment, man. I'm hurting, dog. What do I do? What do I do?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I think the trigger point with that is like, dude, you guys had everything you needed to ensure like a championship, probably in the next, maybe this year, maybe next, like in the next couple. And then they pull that off a few months before freaking playoffs. I don't know. That was crazy.
We were in the finals. I was at game 4 in person at the finals last year, bro. Oh, man. I don't know. But you know what, though? We got Anthony Davis. We still got Kyrie. We got, Derek Lively. We still got Gafford. We look okay. We look okay. All right, Pop, I got to ask you. We're on the subject of President Trump, the most pro-crypto administration our industry has ever seen. What are your thoughts about his presidency and the impact potentially on crypto?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's a lot of things that are happening at a very fast pace, and a lot of things that I disagree with him on, like 100%. I would be a liar if I said, "Oh yeah, I think Trump is the greatest man of all time." But for the crypto industry, I think he's going to be extremely impactful, and he did so by hiring and bringing on the right people that will ensure the success of the industry. And he gets in contact with the key people, right? David Sachs now is the chair of the SEC, very pro crypto. The guy used to go on podcasts and talk shows and talking about why cryptocurrency is one of the greatest creations and why it's going to be a successful for our financial system and why the US needs to adopt it. So the fact that you have this guy's the SEC replacing Gary Gensler, you have Donald Trump meeting with key persons like Brian Armstrong, Coinbase's CEO, Charles Hoskinson, Cardano's founder, Brad Garlinghouse, founder of XRP, Ripple Labs. When you have all these different things happening and Trump is just trying to educate himself, and he himself with World Liberty Fi, with all the millions and hundreds of millions of dollars that they've been able to raise for their own pre-sale, they've been just buying up Ethereum and BTC, Ethereum and Bitcoin on a weekly basis. And I'm talking tens of millions of dollars per transaction. So again, I think he's going to make this market run extremely parabolic. It's going to happen sooner than later. And I'm ready for it, man. Definitely.
Exciting times ahead with the Trump administration in place. Your Pop, I got to ask you though, what are some of your favorite meme coins? Nothing is financial advice. You're not here to tell us how to get rich quick or nothing. Just me asking your preference. Like, what do you like in Q1 of 2025? What are you looking forward to in the time to come?
Oh man, if you guys saw my Solana portfolio right now, everyone would probably just laugh. But I think some of the conviction plays going into this bull run got to be number one, Brett on base. I don't care what anybody says, but the way that Crash has captured everyone's attention and has put a spotlight on base chain, massive, massive, massive. So that's my number one pick for base chain. For Solana, there's many. I think there's probably too many at this point that have done a lot of good numbers. But one that I would say I'm looking forward to, Trump Coin for sure. Melania, just out of hatred of that token launching so soon after Trump Coin, we're gonna fade. Even though I did buy and I sold for a loss, we won't talk about that. And Vine, one of the tokens that I actually bought into Q1 soon after its launch was Vine Coin. they're seeing potential. There's rumors right now that Vine comes back to X on the video tab. And if that happens, I think the coin could do well. The founder of Vine, Russ himself, actually launched the meme coin and has been running with it. It's over $150 million in market cap now. It's been holding up pretty strong. And I think hopefully we come back to this recording and say, wow, now it's a multi-billion-dollar meme coin. I think it has what it takes for that. And I don't know. I can't even think about how many other memes I have. But those are the two that come to mind in terms of immediate. Oh, Pepe. Hold on a second. Pepe, I think, is going to be one that definitely is going to outperform Ethereum's price action over the next year. So with that being said, if you're holding ETH, maybe reduce your ETH position and buy into ETH-based meme coins like SHIB and Pepe. But I think Pepe is going to have a higher upside than maybe something like Shiba Inu.
Yeah, exciting times for me. So we'll see what happens. Again, not financial advice. I didn't tell anyone what to do. I just simply asked your pop, what do you like, sir? Okay, final question. If someone is new to meme coins, they're listening to the Memecoin podcast, they heard about XRP, how we saw over 1000x, a 6x on Trump coin in one weekend. They're hearing these stories. Day 3, you covered Pepe. Getting in early, they want to see some of these gains. If someone is new to the meme coin world and they want to catch some wins, they want to grow and develop that skill set, what are some steps that they should take? What are some recommendations you'd give them?
I would highly encourage everyone to get exposure to the market through other people's trading instead of your own. Don't dive headfirst. Instead, start looking at people like Henok Crypto on Twitter. Start looking at people like myself, your pop, and look at the mistakes that we make and look at the wins that we have. And start just expanding that network in terms of content creators that you follow. And over time, you'll start to realize, hey, this guy has a pretty decent win or P&L, profits to losses. And that's kind of where I would start at the beginning. And then from there, you'll slowly realize that, hey, I don't really need these guys anymore. I can kind of venture out, find my own communities by going to Telegram, by going into Photon's meme scope, which is a really nice tab that shows you every meme coin that launches, and you can filter by the things that I mentioned. So whether the liquidity is burned, whether the volume is high or low, all these different things you can look into. But at the very beginning, I'd say look at other people's wins and losses, start learning to see which ones are decent or people that have decent track records versus the ones that are performing pretty poorly. And then don't follow blindly, of course. Don't be a sheep, but instead try to create your own due diligence with the tokens that they're covering over time.
I love it. All right. Your Pop, thank you so much for coming on the pod. Where can people follow you on social media?
No, man, Henok, I appreciate you for having me on. It's been fantastic. I don't know if this is officially episode 1, but if it is, shout out to episode 1. But yes, Your Pop 8 on Twitter, at Your Pop on YouTube, uploading content on a daily basis, even while I'm on the road. As you guys can see, I'm currently in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai. Absolutely love it here. This is what you would call crypto metropolis. It's amazing, man.
It's a beautiful time to be in crypto. Thank you so much for being with us. Your Pop, thank you for your wisdom, sharing with us everything you've got today, and really appreciate you so much. Until next time, everybody, we will see you on social media. Make sure you follow at Memecoin Pod on all platforms. You do not want to miss. I've got Memecoin billionaires. I've got Memecoin millionaires. I've got advisors, developers, influencers, traders. I've got the best of the best coming on this podcast in the time to come. You don't want to miss anything in this crazy ecosystem. Have a great day.